Stop. Before you call yourself lazy one more time. Before you drag yourself through another day where your body wants only one thing, to lie down and disappear. Ask yourself something brutal. What if this isn't just lack of discipline? What if it's your soul pulling the emergency brake? Because the life you're forcing yourself to live no longer makes sense to it. Think about your days honestly. You wake up tired, even after sleep. You stare at the ceiling, phone in hand, already exhausted by a day that hasn't started. You tell yourself you're just being dramatic. You call it a phase. Then you shove that voice down. You push yourself to stand up, to perform, to answer, to reply, to show up. On the outside, you're functioning. On the inside, there's a quiet rebellion happening. A constant desire. Let me lie down. Let everything stop. Just for a while. Not because you're physically injured. Not because you literally can't move. But because every movement feels pointless. Every task feels heavier than it should. Every interaction feels like acting in a play you never auditioned for. Your body isn't just tired. Your will is tired. The world calls this laziness. But Machiavelli would not. He lived in a time of princes, wars, betrayals, plagues. Men had every reason to collapse, to give up, to lie down and surrender to fortune. He watched who did. He watched who didn't. And more importantly, he watched why. He realized something most people never want to admit. Life will drag you to the ground. Fortune will hit you with things you never asked for. There is always something deeper deciding whether you stand back up or not. Half your life is chaos you didn't choose. Family, money, health, society, expectations. But the other half, that's not fortune. That's you. Right now, your desire to lie down all day is living in that gray zone between the two halves. Part of it is life crushing you. Part of it is you silently agreeing. Fine, let it crush me. You're not lazy. You're cornered. That desire to collapse is a message. It's not random. Machiavelli wouldn't sugarcoat that message. Read that again. You're not tired of life. You're tired of this life, this version of it. The job that feels like a cage. The routines that feel like sedation. The conversations that repeat like a broken record. The goals that were never truly yours, just inherited from parents, social media, culture. Your body lies down because there is nothing in front of it worth standing up for. And that is dangerous. Because when nothing feels worth standing up for, everything becomes optional, including you. This is where the world quietly breaks people. Not with drama, with emptiness. You're not being attacked. You're being slowly dissolved. Wake up. Phone. Work. Scroll. Sleep. Repeat. Machiavelli studied princes who had everything. Money, palaces, armies. And yet some of them moved like you do now, drifting, passive, avoiding decisions, letting others think for them. He despised that kind of passivity. Not because rest is bad, but because power rots in people who won't use it. He wrote about the most dangerous point in any life or any state. The moment when change is needed, but nobody wants to pay the cost of changing. Your desire to lie down all day? That's your soul standing at the gates of a new order of things, a different way of living, thinking, choosing, and refusing to move, because it knows exactly how hard, perilous, and uncertain that path is. So it does the next easiest thing. It shuts down. It goes offline. Think about the places in your life where you feel this shut down the most. Is it right before work? Right after you finish a shift? When you think about your future and see nothing but gray repetition? When you open social media and your life feels like the dullest one on the screen? That's not random. That's a verdict. Your soul is judging the life you're offering it and rejecting the bargain. Here's the cruel part. Everyone around you tells you the opposite. They say, you're just ungrateful. They say, you just need to push harder. So you feel guilty for feeling empty. You look at your life on paper and think, it's not that bad. Because your soul doesn't respond to paper. It responds to truth. Machiavelli would tell you, if the reality inside you does not match the image outside you, there will be a war. And if you refuse to fight that war externally, by changing jobs, paths, habits, relationships, the war doesn't stop. It just moves inward. Now your mind attacks you. Your body rebels. Your energy disappears. You become the battlefield. That's what lying down all day really is. Not laziness. Not weakness. A ceasefire. A truce. A white flag raised by a part of you that is tired of fighting for a life that doesn't fight for you back. But here is where Machiavelli would be merciless. He would agree that your exhaustion is real, but he would also accuse you of something you don't want to hear. Complicity. Because the part of life that is fortune's fault, that's real. But the half that belongs to you, you surrendered most of it without a fight. You surrendered it when you said yes to everything that drained you. Surrounded yourself with people whose only ambition is to get through the week. Escaped into screens every time your soul started screaming. You didn't choose to feel this tired, but you did keep choosing everything that made this tiredness permanent. And your soul is done. Machiavelli wasn't a therapist. He was a strategist. He would talk to your exhaustion like this. You are not allowed to use this as an excuse to disappear. That's the Machiavellian twist. Most people hear you want to lie down all day and say, "Get up, try harder." He would say, "Good. Now we have proof this system is unsustainable. That means you have two options. Change the system." No middle. No comfortable in-between. This is where his most dangerous idea comes in. You want to feel better first, then make changes. He would tell you the exact opposite. Make changes while you feel this way, or you'll never feel different. He believed willingness mattered more than mood. Right now, your difficulties feel enormous. Getting out of bed, answering messages, starting anything. Not because the tasks are impossible, but because your willingness is almost dead. That's what your soul is really trying to tell you with this desire to lie down all day. I have nothing left to give to this version of life. Not a new alarm tone. Not a new productivity app. Not a new wallpaper with rise and grind on it. A real reason. Something that scares you a bit. Belongs to you, not your parents, not society. Demands your focus in a way that numbing never will. Maybe it's a new path you've been too afraid to start. Maybe it's a skill you've secretly wanted to learn. Maybe it's simply the decision to stop living as if you'll get a second life later that will magically be yours. Your soul is not lazy. It's underused. You're exhausted not because you've done too much of what matters, but because you've done almost nothing that does. So what does this look like in real, boring, uncinematic life? And become a productivity robot. It might look like you getting out of bed not for the whole day, but for the next 10 minutes, to do one thing that moves your life one closer to something that matters. It might look like you lying down on purpose for 30 minutes, fully, no phone, no noise, and actually listening to what your mind is saying underneath the numbness. Because once you name it, you can plan around it. Until you name it, you just lie down and call yourself weak. Your soul prefers brutal clarity over comfortable confusion. Machiavelli stood in front of princes and basically told them, if you keep pretending everything is fine, you will be destroyed. You're not a prince, but your soul operates on the same rules. If you keep pretending your desire to lie down all day is just laziness, you will slowly become a spectator in your own life. If you are willing to see it as a signal, a rebellion, a verdict, a warning, you can still build a life where rest feels like recovery, not escape. And that's the Machiavellian angle nobody tells you. Your body lying down is not the problem. The problem is that it no longer believes there's anything worth getting back up for. That's not self-pity. That's strategy. In the next parts, we'll go deeper. How this lie down all day energy is tied to hidden anger you've swallowed. How it reveals loyalties you've given to people and systems that don't deserve you. And how to turn this exhaustion into your most honest advisor. The one that forces you, finally, to build a life you don't always need a bed to escape from. For now, remember this. Your desire to lie down all day is not proof that you're broken. It's proof that something in your world is. And your soul, Machiavellian in its own way, would rather sabotage the system than let you waste an entire life serving a version of you that was never meant to survive. You've noticed something, haven't you? It's who you're thinking about when the heaviness hits. You think about the boss who keeps piling work on you, the family member who calls only when they need something, the friend who disappears until their life falls apart. Then suddenly you're their therapist again. And right when you remember them, your body gets heavier. You don't want to get up. You don't want to reply. You don't want to show up and perform the role they all expect from you. What if your desire to lie down all day isn't just exhaustion? It's rebellion. Not against life. Against being used. You've spent years making it easy for people. You say yes when you want to say no. You listen when you want to scream. You help when you're barely holding yourself together. You're tired from serving lives that would keep going just fine if you vanished. The reliable one. The strong one. Inside, There's a quiet, burning anger. Why is nobody this available for me? Why does no one notice I'm breaking? You don't say that out loud. You can't. So your soul does the only thing left. It lays you down. It says, if they won't hear your words, let them feel your absence. Comment, I realized my fatigue always got worse right before meeting people who drained me. Machiavelli knew this dynamic well, just with nations instead of nervous systems. He saw rulers who wanted to be loved, to be liked, to be seen as kind and generous. They forgave too much, gave too much, trusted too much. And what happened? They weren't cherished. They were used. Available, understanding, forgiving, always seeing the best in people, always giving the benefit of the doubt. And people, being people, have grown comfortable offending you, ignoring your messages until they need something, canceling on you without guilt, dumping their problems on you without ever asking how you are, really. Your soul is not stupid. It sees this pattern. It sees that the more loving you are, the more you get walked on. So it starts to hate the roles you play. Not consciously, not loudly, but every time you're about to get up to do something for someone who has never truly shown up for you, your energy vanishes. But maybe you're just done. Done being the background character in everyone else's movie. Done being the emotional sponge. Done lending your time, your mind, your life to people who assume you'll always be there. That's why even fun things feel heavy now. Plans, calls, events. If they require you to put on the mask again, the I'm fine, I've got you, don't worry about me mask, your whole body resists. He would tell you something darker. You have trained your world to take you for granted. Not entirely your fault. But now, you are maintaining it. You keep saying yes. You keep overgiving. You keep staying silent when it hurts. And your soul is now your only opposition party. It is using fatigue like a veto. So what now? You can't just flip a switch and become cold and selfish. That's not you. But you can become selective. You have wished for your life to obey you, your schedule, your energy, your emotions. But you have commanded nothing. You let messages command you. You let guilt command you. You let expectations command you. No wonder you end up horizontal. You are not the ruler of your life. You are the servant of everyone else's cravings. Your soul wants to lie down because standing up means going back to the palace as the jester, not the prince. It's tired of being commanded. It is waiting to see if you will command anything. Command doesn't start with big speeches. It starts with small refusals. No extra paragraph explaining. No apology tour. Just a line. You think that's rude. But feel the alternative. Dragging yourself through another obligation wanting to scream. Showing up in body while your soul lies flat inside you. Which one is actually more cruel? To them and to you. Now, look around at who you're doing all of this for. The people your soul shuts down around the most. Some care. Some don't. Some benefit. Some barely notice you exist unless you're useful. You may not be a ruler of a state, but you are the ruler of one tiny kingdom. Your time, your attention, your energy. Look at who you've let around that throne. Do they fuel you or drain you? Do they call you higher or keep you exactly where you are? Do they respect your no or only love your yes? If your soul wants to lie down all day, it might be because it's sick of the court, the group chats where nothing ever changes, the colleagues who live to complain and never act, the relatives who weaponize guilt every time you dare to choose yourself. You don't have to cut everyone off dramatically, but you do have to start moving like a strategist, not a victim. That might mean you answer slower. You visit less often. You stop volunteering for things nobody would do for you. Not out of hate, out of survival. Here's the terrifying part. If you ignore this message from your soul, it will escalate. Your system will start cutting power to anything that feels like betrayal. That's why motivation videos don't work on you. They tell you to try harder at the very life your soul is trying to escape. It's like whipping a horse that's lying down because it's injured. It might run one more lap. Then it collapses for good. Machiavelli's way out is brutal but clean. He'd say, stop trying to feel better inside a structure that is making you sick. Change the structure, even if it hurts, even if it's messy. In practice, that might look less dramatic than you think. You don't need to quit your job today. You don't need to move to another country. You don't need to become a monk. You start with one act of command a day. One obligation you don't accept. One draining person you don't immediately rescue. 1 hour you protect, just for you. At first, your guilt will scream. You'll want to lie down not from exhaustion, but from fear. What if they get mad? What if they leave? This is where part one's truth returns. Half of life is fortune. Half is you. You can't control who gets mad. You can't control who leaves. But you can control whether you live on your knees forever or stand up once and endure the storm. That's what your soul is really asking you with this constant desire to lie down. Do you want to rest, or do you secretly want to escape? In the next part, we'll go deeper into the most dangerous layer, the way you're lie down all day. Urge is tied to promises you never meant to make, identities you never chose, and futures that never belonged to you. And how, Machiavelli style, you can start breaking those silent contracts without burning your entire life to the ground. Because your soul is not trying to make you lazy. It's trying to make you listen to the anger you swallowed, to the obligations you never agreed to the fact that if you don't change something, this bed will become less of a comfort and more of a coffin where your potential slowly goes to sleep next to you. You don't have to let it in like that. It's a message, and how you answer it next will decide the entire shape of the life you live from here. There's another moment you don't talk about, something quieter. It happens when you think about doing something for you. Starting that course, going to that class, working on that project, even just taking 1 hour to write, draw, walk, build, learn. You feel a flicker of energy, a tiny, almost forgotten spark. And that little spark dies. You don't just lie down because you're exhausted. You lie down because you are not allowed, in your own mind, to move toward anything that looks like your life. Ask yourself this. When did your life stop feeling like yours? Was it when you chose a degree to make your parents proud instead of to make your soul alive? Was it when you took this stable job that slowly eats your years like termites eat wood? Was it when you became the responsible one, carrying everyone else's chaos like it was your sacred duty? Somewhere along the line, you signed contracts. Most weren't verbal. All were expensive. And in exchange, you thought you'd receive safety, love, belonging, pride. What you actually received was a role. Predictable, useful, exhausting. Now, every time your soul reaches for something outside that role, the old contracts tighten like chains. You want to rest on your own terms? Guilt pulls you down. You want to change direction? Fear drags you back. You want to say no? Shame shuts your mouth. So your body gives up. Comment, I realized I didn't want to do nothing. I just didn't want to do this anymore. Machiavelli spent his life watching men trapped in roles. Princes trying to be saints. Leaders trying to be loved more than effective. Sons trying to carry legacies that didn't fit them. Those words sound beautiful until they become cages. You've tried to be the good student, good child, good friend, good employee, good partner. You know how to lie down for duty. You don't know how to stand up for yourself without feeling evil. So your soul rebels the only way it can. It refuses to power a life where goodness means self-erasure. It pulls the plug. You call it burnout. But underneath, it's something even sharper, refusal. That's the trap. Your brain only knows two extremes. Be good and lie down quietly. Be selfish and become someone you hate. Machiavelli suggests a third path, not good, not evil, strategic. Comment, I kept thinking I had to become a villain to stop being a victim. Let's talk about the deepest silent contract you signed. The agreement to suffer quietly so that others don't have to be uncomfortable. You didn't write it down, but you've lived it. You feel it when you say, I'm fine, while falling apart. You were taught that your pain is cheaper than their discomfort. So of course lying down all day feels seductive. It's the only place you're not performing. The only place you don't have to reassure anyone. Except, even there, you judge yourself. You lie down and then attack yourself mentally. Look at you. Useless. Waste. You're not resting. You're imprisoned. It's trying to show you that you cannot heal in the same role that made you sick. Machiavelli knew that people are slower to let go of security than anything else, even fake security. People forget loss of connection faster than they forget loss of benefit. But the moment you stop giving them what they're used to, your time, your money, your emotional labor, they panic. It's not your soul they miss. It's their patrimony, what they inherited from your compliance. But here's what your soul knows. If you keep defending everyone else's comfort, nobody will ever defend yours. So how do you actually, practically, renegotiate these contracts without blowing up your entire life overnight? Machiavelli didn't advise rulers to burn everything at once. He advised them to be decisive and strategic. to understand where change would provoke the most resistance, and to move anyway, knowing it would be messy. You want a great change with zero danger. You want a new life with no one upset. You want a new self without killing the old roles. Impossible. There will be danger, not physical, but emotional. People might talk. People might judge. People might withdraw. Your nervous system treats that as death, so it chooses the bed instead. But that's a lie. You are risking something every day you surrender to this version of life. You risk your future. You risk your potential. You risk waking up at 50 and realizing you spent decades lying down when you could have been building something that belonged to you. So if danger is unavoidable either way, you might as well choose the danger that leads somewhere. The danger of saying, "No, I can't do that," and hearing disappointment in someone's voice. Admitting, "This path isn't mine," and feeling like you wasted years. Trying something you might fail at, instead of staying perfect at doing nothing. Your soul is not fragile. It's furious. It doesn't want you safe in bed forever. It wants you willing to risk discomfort for something that finally feels real. So here's where we bring it down from dramatic theory to quiet rebellion. Tomorrow, you will still feel like lying down. Maybe the day after too. We're not building a movie montage. We're building a different response. Not for your boss. Not for your family. Not for your image. Yours. It might be 10 minutes learning a skill you care about. Writing one page of something that matters to you. Going for a short walk with no phone, just to hear your own thoughts. Saying one small truth you usually swallow. Your soul doesn't need you to become a warrior overnight. It needs proof you haven't completely abandoned it. That proof won't come from you collapsing under more obligations. One more uncomfortable truth. If the desire to lie down all day has lasted weeks and months, if you feel nothing, if getting out of bed feels physically impossible most days, this isn't just philosophy anymore. It might be depression. It might be your body's chemistry screaming as loud as your soul is. Machiavelli's advice wouldn't cure that, and this video can't either. Strategy and philosophy are powerful. So are doctors, therapists, real-world help. Being ruthless about your life includes being ruthless about getting help when your mind is drowning. There is no weakness in that. There's only honesty. Because here's the real Machiavellian move. You stop fighting this war alone in your head, lying in the dark, losing slowly. You start using every tool available, inner, outer, spiritual, medical, practical, to get back in the game. The world will not pause for your healing. But you can pause your old patterns long enough to create a different future. In the final part, we'll tie it all together. How to take this desire to lie down all day and use it as a compass instead of a curse. A ruthless indicator of what must change, who must be distanced, what missions are worth your limited energy, and how to rebuild your life so that rest feels earned and nourishing. Not your only escape from a reality you never chose. Because your soul is trying to tell you something. It's saying, "I'm done living as proof that you can survive misery." It's not hopeless. It's honest. And from honesty, finally, you can start moving again, not away from life, but toward the one that has been waiting behind this bed the whole time. The world looks the same. Same room, same phone, same bed that somehow feels heavier than concrete some days. But whether you can feel it clearly yet or not, you are not exactly the same person who first hit play on this idea. Before, the thought, "I just want to lie down all day," felt like a personal failure. Now, a part of you knows, it's not just laziness. It's information, a signal, a verdict, a message from the deepest part of you that has been watching silently as you gave your life away in tiny, polite pieces. Now we have to decide what you're going to do with that message. Because there are only 3 real options from here. Numb it, submit to it, or use it. You already know the first 2. You've tried to numb it, scrolling until your eyes burn, eating until you feel nothing, sleeping until the days blur together. You've tried submitting to it, letting days vanish, letting responsibilities rot, letting your own name mean less and less to you. You don't need a lecture to know how that story ends. You can feel it. That's why, under all the exhaustion, all the "I don't care anymore," there is still the tiny, annoying fact that you do care. If you didn't, this topic wouldn't have grabbed you. You wouldn't be here, listening to a stranger talk about your soul. So option 3 is the only one left. Use it. Use this desire to lie down all day as a compass, a ruthless indicator of what needs to change, where your life is lying, where your environment is wrong, where your loyalties are killing you. Because your soul is done playing nice. It has tried whispering. Now it's using gravity. Comment. It hit me one day. Maybe my lack of energy isn't random. Let's make this very simple and very precise. Your soul is not tired of effort. It is tired of effort without meaning. You can prove this to yourself. Notice the difference between how tired you feel when you spend a day doing things that numb you versus a day where you did even one small thing that felt like yours. Not perfect, not viral, not impressive on Instagram, just yours. You can be physically exhausted and still feel strangely okay inside after a day like that. Meanwhile, you can lie down all day and feel more dead by night. Machiavelli saw the same thing in political life. He watched men who had everything, gold, lands, titles, walk through the world hollow, paralyzed, avoiding every difficult choice. He watched men with almost nothing take insane risks, endure hardship, and somehow come out sharper. The difference wasn't comfort. It was ownership. You've been chasing titles, good son, good employee, good friend, good partner, but you haven't been honoring any of them with your truth. You show up, but empty. You perform, but resentful. You do your duty, but your soul is missing from all of it. No wonder it wants to lie down. It is tired of lending its power to titles that don't belong to the real you. So the question becomes brutal and simple. What would it look like to start honoring your own life the way you've been honoring everyone else's expectations? Not in a movie montage. In small, specific, unromantic ways. Let's start with your mornings. Right now, your morning might look like this: alarm, phone, flood of other people's lives, thoughts, problems, instant comparison, instant heaviness. It won't. What if your mornings became your first act of Machiavellian ruthlessness? And drinking 10 raw eggs. But by claiming the first 10 to 20 minutes for you and you alone. No notifications, no messages, no news. You sit, you breathe, you write one paragraph. You plan one small thing that moves your life, not just your boss's, not just your family's. Comment. I thought I needed a new life to feel different. That's not productivity. That's power. You're telling your soul, I see you. Machiavelli, in his own cold way, respected men who acted before they felt fully safe. The fool waits for motivation, waits to feel ready, waits for the perfect moment. And while he waits, the heaviness wins. The wise man does one small act of self-loyalty before his feelings catch up. He doesn't wait for his soul to stop wanting to lie down. He stands up for 5 minutes and does something that proves he's not completely surrendered. Not a whole workout, maybe 5 push-ups. Not a whole book, maybe 3 pages. Not a whole career change, maybe 1 email, 1 search, 1 tiny step. These are not miracles, but they are evidence. Evidence to your own nervous system that you are no longer just the victim of your day. Then comes the harder part. Who gets access to you? You cannot build a new relationship with your own soul while letting every old obligation walk through your door like nothing has changed. You already know who drains you. You feel the energy drop when their name appears on your screen. You feel your chest get heavy when you think about seeing them. You feel the urge to lie down simply from imagining the role you'll have to play around them. That is not random. That is data. You don't have to block them all tomorrow, but you do have to start moving differently. Reply later. Leave earlier. Say no more often. Machiavelli would approve. He understood that once you start changing your conduct, the world around you rearranges in fear, irritation, or respect. That's the secret behind this whole transformation. You're not going to wake up one day and have a perfect life that makes you leap out of bed. You're going to make one change that opens the door for another. Protect 1 hour. That leads to 1 new habit. That leads to 1 new opportunity. That leads to 1 new relationship. That leads to 1 new environment. And you'll notice something strange. The desire to lie down all day doesn't fully vanish, but it changes flavor. It stops being pure escape. It becomes actual rest. Lying down after doing 1 tiny thing that mattered to you feels completely different than lying down after a day of nothing. One feels like collapse. The other feels like recharge. Comment. I used to think I needed to fix my whole life before I'd feel different. We need to talk about fear now. Because under all the heaviness, under all the numbness, under all the I don't care, there is terror. Not of work, not of effort, of change. Change means admitting the path so far wasn't really yours. risking people's disappointment or confusion, risking failure in something you actually want rather than quiet success in something you hate. Your body would rather shut down than face that. Machiavelli knew that nothing exposes a person more than the moment change becomes possible. Most don't take it, not because they're dumb, because they're afraid of losing what little safety they've built, even if that safety feels like suffocation. Your bed has become that kind of safety. Familiar, predictable, a place where no new pain enters, but no new life does either. I won't lie to you. Stepping out of that safety into a life that matches your soul will cost you time, pride, comfort. You will be clumsy at first. You will be misunderstood. Some people will prefer the old, more convenient version of you. But what is the alternative? To spend the next 5, 10, 20 years perfecting the art of lying still while your life quietly leaves the room? Machiavelli wasn't sentimental, but he understood time. He respected the man who sees the hourglass and acts, even late, instead of pretending he's immortal. You are not late. You are exactly at the point where pretending has become more painful than trying. So here's what your soul is really trying to tell you with this desire to lie down all day. I no longer accept this trade. All of your energy in exchange for a life that doesn't feel like yours. That means change what you wake up for, even a little. Change who gets your responses, even a little. Change how you talk to yourself when you fail, especially there. You are not going to bully your soul into wanting life again. You are going to lead it. Quietly, consistently, relentlessly. Like a ruler who finally realizes his kingdom is rotting and decides, too late for perfection, but early enough for redemption, to govern differently. And if all of this still feels too big, too far, too heavy, then take this as your starting point. You don't need to want to live a whole new life. You just need to be curious about what else is possible besides this bed in this loop. Curiosity is a crack in the wall. Through that crack, light gets in. Through that crack, new ideas slip in. Through that crack, a different future starts to sneak its way into your present. Machiavelli would not promise you comfort. He would promise you this. If you are willing to change your conduct, even while scared, even while tired, the world around you will have to respond. Because as much as fortune rules half your life, the other half has been quietly waiting for you to finally pick it up. But I see you. You're not crazy. This is not enough. From here, you have a choice. The same binary every one of these videos ends with, because it's the only one that actually matters. You can close this and go back. Back to calling yourself lazy instead of listening. Back to numbing and collapsing and joking about how tired you always are. Back to using your bed as a coffin for the parts of you that were born for more than this. Or, you can treat this as a line in time. The moment where, I just want to lie down all day stopped being an insult and became a warning sign you finally respected. If you're done letting this world, this system, this version of your life quietly drain you until there's nothing left, like this video. If you're ready to become the kind of person who can rest without disappearing, who can lie down to recover, not to escape, subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss what comes next. Drop a comment with "awake inside" so I know you're not just nodding along in the dark. You're choosing to move, even if it's 1 inch at a time, back toward yourself. And send this to the one friend who keeps laughing off their exhaustion, keeps calling themselves lazy, keeps saying, "I'm fine," with dead eyes. They don't need another grind-set speech. They need someone to translate what their soul has been screaming through their fatigue. Because this isn't self-help. This is strategy. This is war for your own life. And after this, your bed is no longer the place you go to give up. It's the place you return to after fighting, quietly, imperfectly, relentlessly, for a life that finally feels like it belongs to you.